G'day, it's Rusty from Rusty's Metal Cut Signs and Designs. And in this video, I've been invited to attend a field day in Bunbury at the end of the month for an organisation called APLA. And APLA is the Amalgamated Prospectors and Leaseholders Association. And as a prospector myself, and as a former tenement holder, I'm a member of APLA, and APLA gives a voice to prospectors and miners to the mines department, and it's an organisation that also provides insurances when you're out in the bush and stuff. So anyway, their field day's coming up at the end of the month. I've been invited to have a stall, so I'm going to be cutting on the table a whole range of the 7 key holders you've seen before, some signs. I'm going to make some letterbox numbers. I'm also going to make my 3 different sizes of fire pits. So as I go, I'll show you those files that I'm going to be cutting. The majority of it will be cut out of 16 gauge or 1.6mm mild steel, and I'm just going to start with an offcut. I've got a couple of full sheets I've got to use. The fire pits were made out of 3mm and 4mm mild steel. But yeah, I'll get underway and I'll show you the files as we do it. Well, I've made a few test cuts just to check that everything's working fine. Now what I've done here is I've now got the number 1 and I've stacked them, so I've sort of nested them together. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 8 of them there. Settings are here. Table is set. Torches in the corner of the material. Told it where it's down here. So we'll hit the start button and we should cut these 8. And here's this first batch of the number 1 that I've just run through the table, and I've got a few more to go and a few more numbers to go, so I'll carry on cutting them. And I've just started a run of 2s. I can only fit 5 in the side of the sheet that I'm working on at the moment, and I'll just show you them now. And here's the first of the 2s coming out of the sheet. Just cut them and I'll just show you where they were on the sheet there. So yeah, we're getting a bit of a, they call these a skeleton when you've cut the bits out. They're all the O's, and a heap of 1s come out of here. So yeah, we're making progress. Well, as you saw on the laptop, I'd nested 13 of these number 7s together, and I'm very pleased to say that I've gone back to my ohmic sensor on the torch tip. What I've got is I've got this finger here that with a wire that detects the metal, and this thin gauge metal, as you can see here, it's actually bowed a bit. So what the torch does is it comes down and senses the metal and then realizes that's the starting point. So happy with that. That gives me 20 number 7s now. So now I've finished all the 7s, I can move on and cut the next number. Now I'll just show you some of the files I created for the 7 key holder. So this is the basic layout. This bottom piece is the basic key holder template, and then I can add these other designs on top. So this is the 57 Chev. So that's the butterfly design. Thought this one might be quite popular. Cold beer here. And with some of these designs, some of them are quite intricate, and because I'm cutting them small, you've got to be mindful that these little areas here are quite small. So I modified the back wheel and this front wheel a little bit just to make it a bit easier to cut. If you're cutting that a meter wide and 400mm high, it would be fine, but because they're small like that, you do get a little bit of a bit tight in some of these corners. So, and even with this dolphin, you've got these little cutouts here. So anything black is the metal. Anything that shows white on here is actually being cut out. So these little lines here are quite fine. So there's a very fine edge there. Again, because it's quite small, this only measures 245 across here. So you can see that that's 120, maybe 150 high. So you just need to be a bit mindful with these designs that you don't get too tight with them. because I'm learning as I go some of the detail here. I probably could have added a little bit more detail here, a little line here to show where the bottom of the track was, where the bucket, but I mean, you sort of get the idea. And the same with this fish. These little cutout lines here, there were a few more lines where the scales were, but again, they were very small, so I just cleaned up a little bit. So you got a lot of room here to play around in Inkscape and change designs and modify things. But just thought I'd show you some of the files that I've created in order to make these key rings. So all right, we'll get on and cut some of these. And once I've cleaned the numbers, I'll leave them as they are. Once I've cleaned the key holders, here, as you can see here, I've soaked these in vinegar, this cleaning vinegar, and it's been here overnight. And if you just can see it scrapes the top stuff off. So what I do now is I'll take it out and I'll give it a rinse under the tap with a little brush, cleans it up, comes up nice and clean. Then I'll just dry it off, and then I'll put it on the bench and bend these little fingers up. So I'll show you how I do that. Now this fish key holder's just come out of the vinegar. I've just washed it under the tap and wiped it with the towel, and then I just use the heat gun here. This is the heat gun, just to go over it. Because I need to dry it quickly, because I don't want any surface rust to form, and it will form quite quickly. So before I get some paint on it, I'm just going to bend these fingers up, and I'll show you how I do that. So what I've done here is I've clamped the key holder onto the bench, and I've flushed the edge with the edge of the bench. So I've just left the fingers sticking out. Now what this is, this little fold bending plate's a piece of 40 by 10 flat bar with a piece of angle welded on it. So I've got 10mm flat, and back on that 45-degree angle. Gives me, if I can do this, hold this at the same time, so if I knock that up, so that gives me the bend. Right, so that's the fingers bent up, holds the keys, and just take this off without making a lot of noise and banging everywhere. Alright, so if I slide that out of the way, undo the clamp, and there now is the key holder with the little fingers bent up. So next step in the process is to get a coat of primer on it quickly before the surface rust comes, and carry on with the next one. Well, now that these key holders have all been cleaned, washed and undercoated, they're now ready for a coat of paint. I've got to decide what colour to paint them, and there's a few here that I've got to do, so I better get on and do that. Apologies for the noise in the background, I've got the tree loppers here this morning. Now that I've cut all those key holders, I've now moved on to some, I guess you call novelty signs. Sorry about the glare on the screen, I need the lights on in the shed. This is a template with a saw, and it's got the word Grandad Shed in it, and this is 650 long, 160 high. I'm cutting it out of 1.6mm or 16 gauge mild steel plate, the same as the key holders. And I've already cut a couple that's got Dad Shed written on it, and I just modified the file and put Grandad, and I've got another one that says Grandpa's. So I'll go ahead and cut these. And I'll just lift this out. Oh, come on, let you come. There you go. It's got a couple of letters that haven't quite fallen out, but they'll come out pretty easily. And here's that sign I've cut. I'm sure someone will look at that and think, yep, that'll fit nice in my dad's shed. So yeah, I've got another one to cut, and then I've got some other signs to make. And seeing as I'm going to be at an APLA field day, I thought, why not make a sign that says I'd rather be prospecting? So I knocked this up. I use Inkscape for my general design stuff, and yeah, I'll cut this sign now. And if I get this out, here is this sign. Just shake some water off it. I'll just put it on the floor so you can see it through the concrete. It says, I'd rather be prospecting. I reckon that's pretty cool. And hopefully the people at the APLA field day will also enjoy the sign. And these are these I'd rather be prospecting signs, and the little cutout of the man ends up there, and I'll probably make them on the little stand or something and paint them. So that's those two, and these are these saws I cut this morning, the grandpa's shed saw and the granddad's shed saw. So that'll go in the items for sale at the field day. I'll just clean these up with a wire wheel, but I won't paint any of these, and these can be hung in your shed or something, but if someone wanted to paint them after they bought them, they can do it themselves. One thing I did do was this little guy. He was the cutout from the I'd rather be prospecting sign, so I've made a little oval base and welded them on. I'll paint them and have them on the table for sale as well. I'll probably paint them gold, why not? Well, I've been through and painted these key holders in a range of different colours. The gear set's black, and we've got a motorcycle that's red. Oh, there's a keep your keys. Oh, I'll just turn that up there. Here, keep keys please in yellow, and the tractor, and there's a excavator, and we've got a Holden sign, and we've got a green tractor, and over here we've got some cold beer, and there's a black 57 Chev here. Let me move that out of the way. Hang on, there's a black 57 Chev. And a plane, and a, what's that, a monster truck. Yeah, come up pretty well really. That truck's red. Found a new use for my hoist. I put these poles through here and cable tied this mesh to it so I could hang them down. And yeah, so you don't need a hoist for putting cars on. You can use it for hanging these on. Oh yeah, we've got a Ford one. There's a horse and a fish. So yeah, so they're all painted. I'm really pleased with that. And you saw those I'd rather be prospecting signs. Well, this is the cutout that comes out of the sign, so I made a little oval base for it, painted them gold, thought that was the appropriate colour. So yeah, we'll see how they sell on the day. Well, the big day's finally here, and we just set up here at the Bunbury Kite Club, and I'll just show you how the store looks. So we've got our two fire pits, the medium and the large one. Got some prospecting signs, and there's those little gold guys I painted. This is the display board, which has got the saw signs, the bare metal, they're the owls, and these range of key holders that you saw me make earlier on the table. And yeah, the store's looking pretty good. Over here we've got our prospecting picks, we've got these little willy wagtail garden spikes, and our house numbers. So there we go, we'll see how we go today. Well, this APLA field day in Bunbury here has just come to an end. Everyone's just packing up. I didn't sell a lot of items, but I had a few people interested. Got to talk to a few people about some ideas and things about what maybe things they want. So that was a good thing. This being the first one for me is always more about exposure. So had a great time. The weather was against us, unfortunately. The wind and rain probably kept a few people away, but other than that I had a really good time. So if you like the video, thumbs up would be appreciated. If you haven't subscribed and like to, the subscribe button will be down here. And if you haven't seen the video series I made when I made my table, I'll put a link up here somewhere and you'll be able to check out the build series. So that's it for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.